head coach of the Blue Raiders is here, Kermit Davis. We're going to ask him to start off with a statement about getting to the second round, the tournament in general. Then we'll go to questions. Coach?
Well, it was a great day for our program and our city and our university yesterday. I was really proud of our players. I know they're on display, and they played really, really well. And you look at Michigan State's stats, and I thought Tom's team, they shot at 55% and scored 80 points. And so our guys just kind of answered every call. What I was really proud of is kind of how they handled the win, as I thought they handled it, being humble and class, and they act like they'd been there. And that's exactly the way we wanted it, especially we were fortunate to win against a class program like Michigan State. But now our full attention is to Syracuse. We got that started last night, and a different style, but another really, really good team, very well coached team.
Start right here. Number 2 is on the aisle.
Yeah, Kermit, Dan Wolken, USA Today. When you recruited Giddy Potts, did you have any sense you were getting maybe the best three-point shooter in the country? And is it just kind of one of those typical stories where, a guy kind of gets overlooked for, one physical trait or another that maybe the big schools didn't see?
Dan, it was a guy that was an assistant coach at another university called me, and he says, Kermit, and this was in the spring. It's kind of like January, February, maybe February, and he said, there's this kid in Athens, Alabama, and it's real close to Murfreesboro. He said, I think he fits your team. He's got toughness, and he said, he's just as good a shooter as I've seen, and nobody's really recruiting him. And so we went down there and loved him, and he came on the campus unofficially, he and his brother, and loved it. He wasn't going very far from home. He's just one of those kids, and he is. We knew he could really, really shoot it. And I don't know, though. I just think he can go to any level, and he just shoots it like that with confidence, and he's got such a good physicalness about him.
Joe Rexho, Detroit Free Press. Kermit, can you put into words what one more win would mean to you, your program, your university, to get to the Sweet 16?
I think this is that I can only imagine the great publicity that we could have for a week, leading up to trying to go to Chicago and to beat another storied program like Syracuse. And so it'd mean a lot, and I think our team, I'll be shocked if we don't play well. And I don't know if that means we'll win the game, but I really believe that our team will play with a maturity, and I think they'll have the same demeanor as we did yesterday.
What does this mean for you and the seniors, just being here, being the big underdog and winning? Just what does that mean just for these 3 seniors?
Well, Perrin and Darnell and Jaquan have been terrific, and their leadership has been outstanding. College basketball, college athletics is so funny, and the twists and turns, and we're right in the middle of our regular season championship, and we lose a tough game to UAB, and then tough game to Western Kentucky at home, and Giddy Potts goes out with a concussion. He's going to be out 11 days, and so and our guys just rallied around, and Perrin Buford and these guys did such a marvelous job, and then now you end up here, so you just got to stay the course, and those guys have handled that locker room in a great manner.
Standing up on the right.
Coach, what has Ed meant to this team? And I was just talking to Aldonis, how you sent the Kevin Ware article to them after that happened. What was that moment like, and is kind of this run in some ways an inspiration playing for Ed?
I think it has. We were the day before our Conference USA tournament. Ed was starting. Giddy was just coming back from his concussion, and it was a gruesome injury. I mean, it really was. It was the day before we played, and it was a dislocation of a fractured ankle, and it laid bad, and we'd only practiced about 30 minutes. And so I walked out of the gym and just kind of gathered myself, what are we going to do with this team, And I walked back in the gym. The whole team just sat. The gym was just deafening silence, just sitting around Ed. And so we just, we sat there, and I said, guys, Ed's going to be fine. It's going to take him a while. It's probably a 6-month recovery, but he's going to play basketball. And then we kind of went back in the mode, and then we did. We pulled off the Louisville articles and how they rallied around Kevin Ware. And we'd played against Kevin Ware this year at Georgia State, so our guys saw him healthy. And I think that was good, too. And so then I think it made him feel better for Ed that he's going to recover. And then our team did a really good job because, you're talking about a guy that epitomizes student athletes. Ed Simpson does. He's a marvelous student and a really tough guy.
2, 3 on the aisle now. Go here first.
Yeah, to go back to Giddy for a second, I think I read somewhere he showed up pretty much overweight when he came in as a freshman. How did you guys get him, in shape, and was there, was that a concern for you that he was, so heavy?
Well, we tried to get him to go to only one bowl of ranch with everything he eats instead of 2 bowls, all right? So that was the start. So, but, he's just one of those guys that his eating habits, were just poor. And he had never really trained. I don't even know how much weights he ever lifted. And he walked in our weight room, and he's as strong as any football guy on our campus. I mean, he's just, as we use in the South, and I'm from Mississippi, he's just country strong. He is, and he's built like that. And but then Giddy started to understand his body, and then when he got down and his body fat really went down, then he saw how much better player that he is. And we're still going to work on it in the spring. And I think Giddy probably weighs about 219, 220. And I think even if he can get down to maybe 7 or 8 pounds less, he'll even become more athletic.
Heading in to this matchup on Sunday, what's just one thing that you see could really be a difficult challenge for you guys offensively?
Well, Jim's team in the zone is what it is. His guards are so big and so athletic, and they do such a good job of recruiting the guards that fit how they're going to defend. And, they only give up like 30% from 3. And so they guard the three-point line, and you can't fall in love with that and start shooting bad threes. Hopefully the interchangeable parts of our team, Reggie, Perrin, Darnell, in and out, we got to drive the ball. You got to get paint touches against the zone, and hopefully good ball movement and different guys that can be able to penetrate the zone will help.
On the aisle.
Yeah, Kermit, you guys were talking earlier about academic accountability and the point system you have. I guess Reggie said you don't want to get to 4 points. You don't want to be that guy. Can you explain to us what that system is?
Yeah, we implement. I have a marvelous lady, Winifred Counts, who's been at our school for 26, 27 years, and if you're late for a class, you're minus half a point. If you miss a class, it's a point. If there's some kind of disruption, and all I do, I'm just the enforcer of the rules, and I don't deviate at all. Now, you get positive points too. If you make a certain grade in a class or whatever test, you get positive points. If you get minus 2 points, you run the next morning at 6:30. If you get to 4, then it becomes a peer pressure deal where the whole team runs. And so that's only happened like twice in our deal, but it keeps them accountable, and we put the points on the board, and I think Adonis Foot's the only guy that's got a point right now on our board when we left to go to St. Louis, and it really helped. Probably the article that came out in the USA Today, that our men's and women's team have 100% graduation rate right now, and the last one that was figured by the NCAA, and I think in the spring, Jaquan Raymond changed his major to computer engineering, so he'll take another year. Darnell and Perrin will graduate on time, and I think it's 41 or 42 straight players in a row that have graduated that have exhausted their eligibility. So it's really, really important. And we've had junior college guys in that mix too, and I think it's 15 or 16 straight junior college guys. So it's really important, like it is to every coach, but it really is for our guys, and they've done a great job with it.
All right, we have 2 questions on the right-hand side. 3 is over here, and then we'll go back here for 4. Go.
Coach Greg Mullen from ESPN. I'm wondering, going from an Izzo man-to-man to a Boeheim 2-3 zone, it's such a drastic difference. How do you change your mindset and get into it? How much have you seen? How much do you take away from the Dayton success at getting to the rim?
Yeah, it is. It's a totally different preparation, and you try to go back and think about some teams that we've played in zone. And there's 2 or 3 teams in our league that play zone. Now, they don't assimilate the length and the guards and the things that Syracuse do. We did. We just got through watching the Dayton game, and I thought early on Dayton got a lot of paint touches and the ball moved really well. But what Syracuse does, it's just what they do. They can kind of figure out where guys are, and they adjust. They do a great job at halftime as the game gets longer. Their guys understand where your guys are. So that's why I think you've got to have a little more unpredictability, and the movement throughout the game and different things that you do is important against them.
We are halfway through. Next question's here.
Hey, Coach. Your career had a little different path back at the start when you got going. I was just wondering, as you look back on that 1 year at A&M, how maybe that affected you, or maybe did it change your outlook or your approach to the coaching profession at all?
You know, I was 30 years old, and I got this great opportunity at Texas A&M, and we'd won a bunch of games at Idaho, and you know, I made some mistakes there, and I guess it was in 1990, and I think you don't ever wish it on anybody, but if you go through it, it probably makes you a better coach and appreciation, and it did. And we kind of had to recycle our career, and so it went back to a junior college, back to Utah State, to Idaho, LSU, Middle Tennessee, and it teaches you a lot of things. I'm a lot better person, a lot better coach, and because of that experience.
On the left.
Hey, Coach, Mark Tracy from the New York Times. I understand from talking to a lot of your guys that Jacob, although he hasn't been able to play and won't be able to play for the remainder of this season, has nonetheless been kind of both an inspirational figure but also a real contributor. I was wondering if you could just describe some of the ways that he's helped you, you know, with your team.
You know, Jacob Ivory was our starting point guard, and we lost him to a concussion. And so we've really fought some injuries. And, you know, after we won the Conference USA Championship, Jacob he was just crying. He had tears in his eyes and didn't play. And early in the summer, you asked your guys, your best leader, Jacob Ivory, toughest guy, Jacob Ivory, best teammate, Jacob Ivory. And so we lost a lot in losing him. And but we've taken him on every trip. He is right in the middle of everything, warm-ups, and he's as good a person as there is, and we just hope he'll get healthy.
Back in the right standing.
Hey, Coach Joe Dubin, WSMV Nashville. We talked to your team about continuing to play with a chip on their shoulder. Do you like that if they keep doing that?
You know, I don't know if, you know, Joe, I don't know if chips on your shoulders win any games. I really don't. I think it just comes down to playing basketball, you know, for the time that you're out there. I just think that, you know, we have good players, and I think they believe in themselves. I think they believe in our system and how we play. And I don't know. I think if you have to play for chips on your shoulder, I don't think it'll last very long. And I just hope that those guys will just play basketball, try to get the scout in the game, and play real confident tomorrow.
Right here in front.
Kermit, do you have any theories for why you guys are such a good three-point shooting team but have struggled this year from the foul line? And in a game like yesterday, you know, where you got to make some, you know, what are you thinking as a coach, knowing how big of a problem that's been?
You know, Reggie Upshaw, you know, you saw he makes threes, and it is like, you know, my golf game is real average, and he got the yips just like in putting. You know, he really did in the middle of the year, and then he's in the last 6 or 7 games he's done a lot better. Then he went to the line for the conference championship and just made them and shot them great. Yesterday he shot them and he's moving around. You know, free throw shooting is like putting. You know, if your head starts moving, your body starts moving, the chances go down. And when Reggie stays still at the line, he's a lot better free throw shooter. But you're right, Darnell Harris, who's as good a 5-man three-point shooter in college basketball, and he kind of struggled. So I don't know, it was just kind of a mental thing, and but they seem to make them when it's on the line, which is a good thing.
All the way back.
Kermit, off that earlier question about the early part of your career, how much do you owe for your current position to Boots Donnelly, and what did he talk about with you when he was getting ready to hire you at Middle?
You know, Coach Donnelly, I tell you, in some ties to Michigan State, you know, I'd gone back to be the head coach at Idaho, and I have an older daughter that has special needs, and Moscow is our second time back there. My wife really needed to be in the South and kind of closer to her family, and I thought it helped. And it was a great move to go back with a good friend of mine at LSU with John Brady. And I tried to get involved in the Middle Tennessee job. I could get nowhere. I couldn't get anywhere. I couldn't get Coach Donnelly to call me back. And so this is how it all works. And so John Smith, who used to be the head football coach at Michigan State, he and I are very best friends, and he was the head coach at Louisville. And he called me, and he just, out of the blue, I didn't call John L. He goes, Kermit, he goes, would you be interested in that Middle Tennessee job? I said, yeah, I would, John L., but I can't even get the guy to call me back. He said, well, Boots Donnelly's a great friend of mine. And in 5 minutes, Coach Donnelly calls me. And I meet him in Atlanta at the Final Four, and I could tell after about 10 minutes, I really thought, he and I connected. And Coach was great. I mean, he reminds me of my dad. My dad's a basketball coach, coached down there football, old school, and he was tremendous. He called me the other day after we'd won the championship, and so he was great. And he's still a really, really good friend.
On the aisle?
Kermit, just wondering if you've ever had a back-to-back coaching matchup like going from Izzo to Boeheim.
No, not that caliber. I mean, not that caliber right there. I mean, you're talking about as two good a guys, basketball-wise, has been in our profession. So that really is. That's not only just the tradition of their schools, but both those guys and what they've done, national championship coaches. So it's just a great opportunity for all of us to play against that caliber team.
5 minutes to go. 3 questions are up on the right.
Coach, just what you can say about Win Case and how much he's meant to this team and just his kind of story of coming to you with Bill Self telling him that he should take an opportunity like that.
Yeah, Win Case is I think he's 7 or 8 years, and he won 2 national championships as the head coach at Oklahoma City College. So Win's a really good basketball coach. I had an opening, and Bill called me, and he says, Kermit, he goes, you got good people skills, and I've got good people skills, but I'm going to tell you a guy that is off the chart that's better than both of us combined. This guy name's Win Case. I said, well, I've heard of Win, but I really don't know him. And I interviewed Win Case, and he was just terrific. He's got that infectious smile. He's been a great recruiter for our team. He has meant a ton over the last 6 years and all the winning that we've had.
Hey, Coach, George Willis, New York Post. I'm just curious, how much of what happened at A&M do you share with your current players about adversity and persevering and all that kind of thing?
Nothing at all. Not with my players, not at all. It's what happened, has nothing to do with them, and it happened in 20-something years ago. And like I said, it's one of those things that we all grow from adversity. We've all had it in this room, and so it's something, like I said, that has helped me and has helped me as a coach prepare for the opportunity now, but not at all. I've never brought it up to him.
Coach, I'm assuming you learned a lot about coaching from your dad. I'm just wondering how much of that do you still use? Is still applicable? And do you talk to him still about
Yeah,
things?
my father's 80, and he was a high school coach, and then he was the Army coach at Fort Dix, New Jersey, and then he went to Mississippi State as an assistant. I don't know, when I was growing up, I was there at every practice, my brother and I don't know about it's really the X's and O's. He was such a Southern gentleman. He had such great people skills, and he was the SEC Coach of the Year in 1970. So I think when you're young, you just pull from all the things, you just around it all the time. And the people that I got to meet just with him, was probably the biggest thing. And but I still talk to him every day, and he really is. It's I don't know if you could ever have a better childhood than to grow up with a guy that's coaching in the SEC and be able to travel to all those schools and do those things.
Right here in front.
Have you been watching any of the ESPN highlights, any of that, and what are your thoughts on being this year's Cinderella?
I think I've seen the highlights once, and I really haven't seen too much of it. You don't. I guess the next day is when you really kind of see it from a national perspective, and you're just proud of your players. And like you said, we talked about it a lot. I said, guys, there's going to be some great stories coming out of this tournament. And, it'd be nice if it was Middle Tennessee. And we talked about it during the week. You hear about these stories all the time. And so it's really, it's great when you become a fabric of your community. And I've been there 14 years, and we're a huge part of everything that goes there. I mean, we love that place. And to see good things like that happen to Murfreesboro and the fans and Middle Tennessee State University brand, it means a lot to Betty and I, for sure.
Final question here on the aisle.
Coach, you'll be facing another tall guard again against Syracuse. You had success against shutting down Valentine yesterday by putting multiple players, including Perrin Buford, on him. Do you expect that same 1 through 5 switching again tomorrow?
We'll do some switching at times, depending on the personnel that Syracuse has in the game, and we'll play our 1-3-1 trapping defense. I think that helps slow really good guards down. But it really kind of sometimes matters of kind of personnel in the game where they got to pick and pop forward, the different guy that sets the ball screens or switching. So, and that's something we'll try to get in our practice today.
Okay, Coach, thank you very much. Best of luck.